The rain hammered down on the cracked asphalt of the Brooklyn sidewalk like God's own judgment, turning the world into a blurry watercolor of regret and rage. Justin Hale's cheek stung from the backhand his father had just delivered, the metallic tang of blood mixing with the downpour as he staggered back against the diner door. "You're no son of mine," Harlan Hale bellowed from the threshold, his face twisted like a storm cloud. "And if you ever darken this door again, I'll bury you deeper than your mother's grave." Justin wiped the rain from his eyes, tasting salt that wasn't just from the weather, and bolted into the night, the neon Hale's Haven Diner sign flickering behind him like a dying heartbeat. At 25, he'd always known his family was old-school Irish Catholic stock, stubborn as the Hudson River rocks, but coming out as gay in the middle of family dinner? That was the grenade he'd lobbed into their powder keg life. His older brother, Marcus, had sneered from across the Formica table, fork paused mid-bite over his meatloaf. "Figures," Marcus had said, voice dripping with that East Coast sarcasm that cut deeper than any knife. "Always the dreamer. Just now you're gonna drag us all down with your fairy tale bullshit." And their sister, Elena, the golden child who'd married into money up in Westchester, just stared at her plate, silent as a tombstone. The diner wasn't just a job, it was the Hale legacy. Grandpa Seamus had opened Hale's Haven in 1952, slinging burgers and shakes to dockworkers and dreamers fresh off the boats from Ellis Island. By the time Harlan took over in the 80s, it had become a Brooklyn institution, greasy spoon heaven with vinyl booths that sagged like old friends and coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Justin had grown up wiping counters after school, dreaming of franchising it across the boroughs, turning it into a chain that screamed New York grit and heart. But dreams? In the Hale family, those were for suckers. Harlan ruled with an iron fist wrapped in a potholder. And Marcus, the heir apparent at 32, was his carbon copy, blunt, bullish, and buried in spreadsheets that showed the diner teetering on bankruptcy's edge thanks to rising rents and that new hipster cafe poaching their crowd with avocado toast. Justin didn't stop running until he hit the F train at the end of the block, collapsing onto a graffiti-scarred bench as the doors hissed shut. His phone buzzed like a hornet. Texts from Elena. "Dad's cooling off. Come back." Then Marcus. "Don't be dramatic, kid. This changes nothing." But it changed everything. He powered it off, shoved it in his pocket, and let the subway's rumble drown out the ache in his chest. Where to now? His crappy studio in Bushwick was sublet month to month, paid for with tips from slinging plates. No safety net, no plan B. Just him, a duffel bag of clothes grabbed on the fly, and a secret he'd buried deeper than his mom's old recipe book. He was in love. Or at least, he thought he was. With a guy he'd met 3 weeks ago at a queer poetry slam in the village. Brandon, with his easy laugh and eyes like smoked whiskey. The train spat him out at J Street, and Justin trudged through the deluge to a 24-hour laundromat, the kind with flickering fluorescents and vending machines that spat out stale candy. He dumped his wet clothes in a dryer, fed it quarters he couldn't spare, and slumped in a plastic chair, scrolling through Grindr out of sheer numbness. Not looking for a hookup, just distraction. That's when the door chimed, and in walked Brandon, hood up against the rain, carrying a basket of folded towels like he owned the damn place. Their eyes locked across the spin cycle, and for a split second, the world stopped churning. "Justin? Shit, man. You look like you wrestled a hurricane and lost." Brandon's voice was pure Jersey, warm gravel with a side of concern. He dropped his basket and crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling Justin into a hug that smelled like fresh linen and faint cologne. 28. Graphic designer by day, amateur boxer by night, Brandon Reyes had that effortless cool. Olive skin, buzzed fade, tattoos snaking up his arms like vines claiming a brick wall. They'd clicked at the slam. Justin's poem about hidden loves in greasy diners had Brandon buying him a beer afterward, confessing his own story of coming out to a Puerto Rican family that still sent him care packages of arroz con gandals but whispered prayers for his soul. "I got kicked out," Justin mumbled into Brandon's shoulder, the words tumbling like loose change. "Full-on disowned. Dad hit me. Marcus called me a liability. Said I'd ruin the business if I ever came near it again." He pulled back, forcing a laugh that cracked like thin ice. "Guess that's that for the family empire." Brandon's jaw tightened, but his touch stayed soft. Thumb brushing a raindrop, or was it a tear? From Justin's jaw. "Fuck him. You're not ruined. You're just free now." He glanced at the dryer, then back. "Come on. My place is 2 blocks over. Got a couch, bad cable, and empanadas my abuela froze last visit. We'll figure it out." That night, curled on Brandon's lumpy futon in a pre-war walk-up off Atlantic Avenue, Justin spilled it all. The diner's books he'd snuck peeks at, showing debts piling up like snowdrifts, Harlan's refusal to modernize, clinging to the 50s menu like a life raft, Marcus's side hustles that Justin suspected were shady, funneling cash God knows where. Brandon listened, feet propped on a milk crate coffee table cluttered with sketch pads and half-empty growlers from last weekend's bar crawl. "Sounds like they need you more than they know," he said finally, voice low in the dark. "But tonight, just breathe. I'm here." Morning came with bodega coffee and a job hunt that felt like punching fog. Justin crashed at Brandon's, picking up shifts at a midtown sports bar, pouring IPAs for Wall Street bros who tipped like they owned the world. Brandon worked freelance, his designs popping up on band tees and food truck wraps. But he made space, cleared a drawer for Justin's tees, introduced him to his crew at the gym, a rainbow of queer folks shadowboxing their demons. Their first kiss happened on a fire escape during a heat wave, city lights twinkling below like fallen stars. Brandon's lips were tentative at first, then hungry, hands framing Justin's face like he was something precious. "I've wanted this since that poem," Brandon whispered against his mouth. "You, all fire and heartbreak." Weeks blurred into a rhythm. Stolen mornings tangled in sheets that smelled like them, evenings walking the promenade hand in hand, arguing over whether Springsteen or Bad Bunny had the better breakup anthems. Justin's bruise faded, but the scar inside festered. He'd scroll Zillow listings for studio shares, muttering about getting his own place, but Brandon would pull him close. "Stay. This feels right." And it did until Elena's call shattered the bubble. "Justin, you gotta come back," she said, voice hushed like she was smuggling contraband. "The diner's drowning. Marcus. He's in over his head. Dad's talking foreclosure." Justin's gut twisted. Foreclosure? Hale's Haven, with its ghost of Seamus flipping flapjacks? No way. But the family that had cast him out like yesterday's hash? "Why me?" he pressed, phone hot against his ear. Elena sighed. "Because you're the smart one. Just always were. Just come see." He hung up, staring at the skyline from Brandon's window, the Empire State Building piercing the dusk like an accusation. Brandon found him there, wrapped arms around his waist from behind. "Go," he said simply, after Justin explained. But not alone. I'll ride shotgun. The drive back to Brooklyn was a silent gauntlet, the Williamsburg Bridge humming under tires slick with doubt. Harlan met them at the door, apron dusted in flour, eyes red-rimmed but unyielding. Marcus lounged at the counter, nursing a bud, his glare sliding over Brandon like oil on water. "Who's the arm candy?" Marcus drawled, that smirk like a switchblade. "Brandon Reyes," Justin said, chin up, hand firm in Brandon's. "My partner. And the guy who's got my back. Unlike some," Harlan grunted, waving them to a booth scarred from decades of initials carved by lovesick teens. The books were worse than Justin feared. Suppliers unpaid, inventory bloated, and a line item for consulting fees to some shell company that screamed fraud. "Marcus says it's the economy," Harlan grumbled, sliding over a milkshake like old times. "But I know bullshit when I smell it." Justin traced the ledger's columns, heart pounding. He could fix this, streamline the menu, launch a food truck pop-up, tap into the queer brunch scene downtown. Ideas he'd sketched in notebooks now gathering dust. But Marcus leaned in, voice a venomous whisper. "You think you can waltz back in, waving your rainbow flag, and play hero? This ain't your sandbox anymore. Little bro." The air crackled, thick as frying oil. Brandon's hand under the table squeezed Justin's knee, steady, like an anchor in a squall. "Let him help," Brandon said evenly, meeting Marcus's eyes. "Or watch it all burn." That night, as Justin pored over numbers in the diner's back office, the hum of the ancient fridge his only company, doubt crept in like fog off the East River. Was this redemption, or just masochism? Footsteps echoed Brandon, bearing 2 slices of leftover pie. "You're glowing," Brandon teased, but his eyes were serious. "This place. It's in you, like ink under skin." They kissed there, amid stacks of invoices and faded Polaroids of Grandpa Seamus grinning toothless behind the grill. Slow, deep, promise against the peril. But outside, thunder rumbled, and Justin wondered if the storm had truly passed, or if it was just gathering force. The next dawn broke gray and grudging over Hales Haven, the kind of Brooklyn morning where the air hangs heavy with exhaust and unspoken sins. Justin woke on the diner's office cot. Brandon had insisted on the lumpy thing over crashing at his place. "So you can dive in headfirst," to the sizzle of bacon and Harlan's gravelly curses at the flat top. Coffee brewed black as tar, and for a heartbeat, it felt like before, family, flawed but familiar. But Marcus's truck peeled out of the lot at 7 a.m. Sharp, off to handle suppliers, leaving a wake of suspicion. Over breakfast, eggs over easy, just how Justin liked. Harlan slid him a keyring, the diner keys jangling like loose teeth. "Don't fuck this up, boy," he muttered, avoiding Justin's gaze. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a crack in the armor, wide enough for hope to seep through. Elena texted coordinates for a meeting with the landlord that afternoon, her emoji heart feeling like a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Brandon drove them in his beat-up Civic, radio tuned to Hot 97 blasting Bad Bunny's latest, windows down to let the city breathe. "Operation Save the Diner," Brandon quipped, one hand on the wheel, the other tracing circles on Justin's thigh. "You lead. I hype." "Deal?" Justin laughed, the sound rusty but real. God, Brandon made the impossible feel like just another Tuesday. The landlord's office in Dumbo reeked of stale cigars and desperation. A walk-up crammed with file cabinets and faded Yankees posters. Mr. Kowalski, a paunchy pole with a comb over that defied gravity, steepled his fingers over the lease. Hales, you're 3 months behind. I like the place, nostalgia sells, but business is business. Justin laid out the plan. Targeted renovations, social media blitz with Brandon's design chops, a loyalty app for regulars. Kowalski's bushy brows climbed. Ambitious. But cash talks. Got $30K by month's end. 30 grand. The number landed like a sucker punch. Harlan had maybe 10 in the till on a good week. Justin nodded, throat dry. We're on it. Outside, Brandon pulled him into an alley shadowed by warehouse bricks, kissing away the panic. Crowdfund it, he murmured against Justin's lips. GoFundMe with your story, queer kid saving family legacy. It'll go viral. Back at the diner, they rallied the troops. Harlan grunted approval at the pitch deck Justin mocked up on his phone. Vintage vibes meets modern edge. Drag queen brunches, plant-based twists on the classics. Elena arrived with her husband, Tom, a bland accountant type who actually crunched numbers without fudging them. Marcus handles the books, Tom said carefully when Justin probed. But irregularities. Petty cash vanishing like smoke. The seed of betrayal took root then, thorny and insistent. Justin confronted Harlan that evening. The diner empty save for the ghost of rush hour grease. Dad, where's the audit trail for those fees? Harlan's face shuddered like a storm blind. Marcus's department. Boys got ambitions, consulting on the side. Ambitions. Justin's blood chilled. He'd overheard Marcus on Call's last visit. Voice low and oily. Yeah. Skim a little here. Flip it there. No one's the wiser. Sleep evaded him that night. Brandon snores a distant comfort from the futon in the corner. At 2 a.m., Justin slipped out, wandering the diner's lot under sodium lamps that buzzed like angry bees. His phone lit up. A text from an unknown number. Stay out of it, Ferry. Or Hale's Haven goes up in flames. And signed. But the venom was Marcus's signature. He didn't tell Brandon. Not yet. Dawn brought a fragile truce. Harlan teaching Brandon knife skills on a crate of onions. The two bonding over shared immigrant grit. Harlan's Irish famine tales mirroring Brandon's abuela's tales of island hurricanes. You got heart, kid, Harlan admitted, clapping Brandon's shoulder. Justin's lucky. It was the closest to acceptance Justin had heard, and it bloomed something fierce in his chest. The crowdfunding launched at noon. Brandon's graphics popping. Sepia-toned shots of the diner intercut with Justin's poem recited over vinyl crackle. From Outcast to Anchor, Save Hale's Haven. Shares spiked, queer networks in the village. Foodie forums in Williamsburg. Even a shout-out from a local drag influencer. By nightfall, 5 grand in. Hope tasted like cherry coke on ice. But Marcus returned like a thunderclap, bursting through the door mid-shift, face flushed from whatever dive he'd haunted. What the hell is this? He waved his phone, the GoFundMe page glaring. Begging strangers? With your sob story. His eyes raked Brandon, pouring a soda at the fountain. And parading your boyfriend like some pride float? Dad, tell me you signed off on this circus. Harlan straightened, spatula in hand like Excalibur. It's working, son. That's what matters. Marcus's laugh was a bark, ugly and unyielding. Working? It's humiliating. We're Hales, we grind. We don't grovel. He jabbed a finger at Justin. This is your poison, little bro. Always stirring shit. The diner fell silent, a dozen regulars frozen over their Reubens. Brandon stepped forward, calm as a summer sea. Back off, man. Justin's saving your ass. Marcus's sneer curled. Saving? He's a joke. A pansy who couldn't hack it here, so he runs to. Whatever this is. He gestured dismissively at Brandon, the word fag unspoken but hanging like smog. Justin surged, fists clenched, but Brandon's hand on his arm held him back, firm, unyielding. Not worth it, Brandon whispered. He's scared. Marcus stormed out, door slamming like a gunshot. Harlan sighed, heavy as the world's weight. Go after him. Just talk sense. The chase led to a dive bar off Flushing Avenue. Neon Lucky's sign winking like a false promise. Marcus hunched over a whiskey neat, tie loosened like a noose. Justin slid onto the stool beside him, signaling for a Coke. What gives? Mark, the threats, the skimming. Marcus's head snapped up, eyes bloodshot. Threats? Fuck you. Paranoid much, but guilt flickered, brief as a match flare. Look, the diner's a sinking ship. I got a line on a buyer corporate chain. Quick cash. Dad retires easy. Your little stunt? Screws it all. Buyer? Without telling Dad. Justin's voice rose, drawing stares from grizzled vets at the pool table. That's betrayal, not business. Marcus slammed his glass down, amber sloshing. Betrayal? You're the one who betrayed us. Prancing around with that spick, airing our dirty laundry online. Family first. Just always was, till you went rogue. The slur landed like shrapnel, and Justin's vision tunneled. He grabbed Marcus's collar, yanking him close. Call him that again, and blood's the least of your worries. Marcus shoved back, breath sour. Touch me, and you're out permanently. Dad listens to me. They parted like oil and water, Justin stumbling into the night, chest heaving. Brandon waited in the Civic, headlights cutting the dark. Heard the shouting, Brandon said, pulling him in for a kiss that tasted of fury and forgiveness. You're enough. Just more than enough. Back at the diner, they made love in the office. Desperate, devouring, the cot creaking under them like a confession. Brandon's hands mapped Justin's skin. Whispers of I got you, a mantra against the chaos. Afterward, tangled and spent, Justin traced the tattoo on Brandon's chest. A compass rose, inked after his first heartbreak. Points true north, Brandon murmured. You? Now. The week blurred into a frenzy. Pop-up events drawing crowds, burlesque nights with Hale's twists on comfort food, viral TikToks of Harlan flipping burgers in a rainbow apron, begrudgingly. Donations climbed to 15 grand. Elena's connections landing a feature in Eater, New York. But shadows lengthened. Marcus vanished for days. Harlan's calls going to voicemail. Then, the email, from the buyer, CC to the family. Offer half market value, conditional on no publicity stunts. Harlan crumpled the printout, face ashen. He sold us out. Justin's heart plummeted. Marcus, the brother who'd taught him to ride a bike on Coney Island boardwalks, shared smokes behind the gym, had inked the deal in secret, pocketing a finder's fee that explained the vanished cash. Confrontation brewed like a pot left too long on the boil. Justin drove to Marcus's apartment in Bay Ridge, Brandon insisting on coming, No solo missions. The door swung open to chaos. Takeout boxes, empty bottles, Marcus pacing like a caged wolf. "You knew," Justin accused. Voice steel. "The threats were you, scaring me off so you could cash out." Marcus laughed, bitter as burnt toast. "Knew? I planned it. Dad's blind. Elena's soft, you're a wild card. This way, we all win." He eyed Brandon. "Except your little love nest, I guess." Brandon stepped up, voice even. "Win? By torching your brother's heart? That's not family, man. That's fear." Marcus's facade cracked, whiskey tears tracking down. "Fear? Try survival. Place is cursed. Mom's death. The debts. I fixed it." Justin grabbed the contract from the table, ripping it slow, deliberate. "Then fix this. Come clean, or I walk, for good." Marcus slumped, defeated. "Fine. Call it off. But don't expect hugs and rainbows." The call to the buyer was awkward. Harlan's voice booming over speaker. Retraction. Full steam on the reboot. Relief washed through, but trust shattered like diner china. That night, under a canopy of stars smudged by city haze, Justin and Brandon walked the empty lot, hands linked. "Think we can rebuild?" Justin asked, voice small. Brandon pulled him close, foreheads touching. "Us? Always. The rest. They'll catch up or fade." Their kiss was salt and promise, the diner's sign humming approval in the distance. Yet dawn brought the real storm. Cops at the door, badges flashing. Marcus Hale? Fraud investigation. Harlan's face drained of color. The skimming, not just fees, embezzlement from suppliers, bounce checks that snowballed into felony territory. Marcus, hauled in cuffs, met Justin's eyes one last time. "Sorry, bro. Tell Dad. I tried." The squad car's taillights bled red into the Brooklyn dusk as it hauled Marcus away, leaving Hale's haven feeling hollowed out, like a gutted fish flopping on the dock. Justin stood frozen on the stoop, rain starting up again in fat, indifferent drops, while Harlan clutched the doorframe, his knuckles white as bone china. "My boy," he rasped, the words a eulogy for the son he'd raised to be unbreakable. Elena sobbed into Tom's shoulder, her perfect bob ruined, mascara tracking like war paint. Brandon's arm around Justin was the only solid thing in the spin. Cops swarmed the office next, badges and clipboards turning the cozy chaos into a crime scene, yellow tape fluttering like morbid party streamers. "Embezzlement. Wire fraud," Detective Ruiz explained, her voice clipped Queen's accent. "Your brother's been cooking books for months, shell accounts, fake invoices, tied to a loan shark up in Queens. We got a tip. A tip." Justin's mind reeled. "Who?" But Ruiz's eyes flicked to him. Soft. "Anonymous. Probably someone who cares." Harlan collapsed into a booth, head in hands, the weight of legacy crushing him. "I should have seen." "Should have." Justin knelt, hand on his father's knee, first touch since the slap. "You couldn't." He hit it good, but the lie tasted bitter. Justin had suspected, and said nothing, blood thicker than suspicion. News hit like a nor'easter. Gothamist ran Brooklyn diner dynasty crumbles. Heir arrested in embezzlement scandal. The GoFundMe stalled. Donors pulling pledges with comments like, "Scam alert," and worse, slurs lobbed at Justin's gay agenda, tainting the revival. Instagram trolls swarmed. Memes of rainbow flags burning over burger buns. Brandon fielded the worst, his designer fingers flying to block and report. But the damage seeped in, corrosive as acid rain. That night, the apartment above the diner, Harlan's old bachelor pad, dust-rimed and smelling of mothballs, became command central. Justin paced the creaky boards, laptop open to spreadsheets bleeding red. "We pivot," he declared, voice fraying at the edges. "Double down on community. Free meals for families hit by the layoffs at the docks. Partner with local queer orgs for safe space nights." Brandon nodded, sketching logos on a napkin, a haven stylized as a shield, fierce and inviting. Harlan emerged from his stupor with black coffee and a proposition. "Sell it. Just to you." The words hung, seismic. Justin blinked, the diner's hum through the floorboards a heartbeat. "Me, Dad? Harlan cut him off, eyes wet but steady. "You're Hale blood. And that boy's good for you." A nod to the stairs, where Brandon nursed a beer, pretending not to eavesdrop. Built like Seamus solid. It wasn't absolution, but it was a bridge, rickety but real. Justin signed the papers next morning in Elena's lawyer's office. A pittance down payment funded by Brandon liquidating his savings. No arguments, just a quiet investing in us. The deed in hand felt like holding lightning, electric with peril and possibility. Word spread. Marcus's arraignment set for Friday. Bail a cool $50K. Harlan scraped by hawking mom's old brooch. Courtroom in downtown Brooklyn was a zoo, reporters milling like sharks, flashbulbs popping as the family filed in. Marcus looked small in orange, cuffs chaining him to the bar, his bravado stripped to bones. Pled not guilty, his public defender droned, but the judge's gaze was steel. Remanded. Next, outside, Harlan cornered Justin under the shadow of the courthouse lions. "He did it for us," he growled, defensive as a cornered dog. "Bills piling. Mom's medical ate us alive." Thought he was protecting. Justin's throat tightened. Protecting? By poisoning the well? And me? Was I the enemy too? Harlan deflated. "Feared you'd complicate with your ways." The old slur, softened but there. Justin held his ground. "My ways saved it, Dad. Love does that." Brandon waited by the car, pulling Justin into a hug that crushed the air from his lungs. "Proud of you," he murmured, lips brushing temple. "Warrior shit." They drove to the diner in silence, hands clasped over the gearshift, the city a blur of steel and soul. Rebuild kicked into overdrive. Contractors for a fresh coat of paint, eco-friendly signage courtesy of Brandon's pro bono hustle. Justin helmed the kitchen trials, vegan Reubens that didn't suck, spiked milkshakes for the afterwork crowd. First event, Hale's Heart, a queer open mic, stage cobbled from crates, mics borrowed from a village haunt. Patrons trickled in wary, then warmed. Poets spilling verses of hidden aches, singers belting show tunes that peeled back scars. Mid-set, Brandon took the mic, voice rough honey over the amp. "This one's for the outcasts who build homes from ruins." His eyes locked on Justin's across the room. And the song, a stripped-down cover of Hallelujah, wove through the air like smoke, intimate as a vow. Applause thundered, tips jars overflowing. Harlan watched from the counter, wiping the same spot endlessly, a ghost of a smile cracking his facade. But betrayal's echo lingered. Bail hearing came. Harlan posting bond with a second mortgage. Marcus released to house arrest, ankle monitor blinking like a guilty eye. He slunk back to the family brownstone in Park Slope. Elena mediating tense dinners where forks scraped like accusations. Justin kept distance. But one night, a knock at the diner's back door. Marcus, gaunt and gray, bearing a six-pack in shame. "Talk?" he rasped, stepping in without invite. The office felt too small, air thick. "I fucked up. Just bad." Justin leaned on the desk, arms crossed. "Yeah. You did." Marcus cracked a beer, foam spilling like tears. "The money. Started small. Pay off Ma's funeral. Then the sharks called due. Thought the sale would square it." A pause. "Heavy. Hated seeing you happy. With him. Made me feel less." Justin's anger fractured, pity seeping through. "Less? Mark, you're my brother. Gay or not, that's blood." Marcus's laugh choked. "Blood's messy. But congrats on the deed. Deserve it." He stood, awkward hug landing like a truce flag. "Don't hate me?" Justin pulled back, searching those familiar hazel eyes. "Working on it. Help fix this, volunteer. Counsel the crew on bad choices. Earn it." Marcus nodded, slipping out into the night. Progress, fragile as spun sugar. Crowd swelled. Influencers snapping for the gram. Locals reclaiming booths like prodigal sons. Donations crept to 25 grand. Enough for the landlord's grace. But high tide brings undertow. Anonymous email to Justin. Grainy photo of Marcus meeting a thug in a Queens lot. Time-stamped post-bail. Debts don't die. Pay up, or Hales burns. Heart hammering. Justin showed Brandon, who cursed in fluid Spanglish. Lone shark. Marcus didn't square at all. They tailed the lead to a strip mall off Jamaica Avenue. Brandon's gym-honed vigilance scanning shadows. The meet. Marcus, sweating in a hoodie, handing an envelope to a goon with a gold tooth and dead eyes. "Last payment," Marcus pleaded. Goon laughed. "Nah. Interest doubled. 20K. Or your brother's pretty diner goes poof." Justin stepped from hiding, voice thunder. "Touch it, and we go public, cops. Press. All." Goon sneered. Kid thinks he's tough, but Brandon loomed, fists loose but lethal. "Try him. See how tough we get." Standoff cracked. Goon pocketed the envelope, muttering retreat. For now, back home, Marcus confessed over Dawn coffee. Harlan silent witness. "Thought I buried it. Stupid." Harlan's hand on his shoulder was earthquake steady. "We end it. Together." Family therapy followed Dr. Mandated, but raw. Harlan admitting his own closets. Elena her complicity in silence. Justin shared the slap scar. Voice breaking. Hurt more than the hit. Harlan wept then. First tears Justin remembered. Forgive an old fool? Layers peeled. Bonds reforged in fire's afterglow. Romance deepened in the quiet. Brandon and Justin stealing rooftop sunsets. Cities sprawl their kingdom. One evening, post-shift, Brandon knelt in the lot. Gravel-biting knees. Ring box humble. A silver band etched with compass points. "Marry me. Just not for show for us. North, south, all of it." Tears blurred the yes. Kiss ceiling under diner glow. but sharks circle. Arraignment loomed, and whispers of retaliation stirred. Justin dreamed of flames, waking sweat-soaked in Brandon's arms. "We'll fight," Brandon vowed. Always. The courthouse air hung thick with the scent of polished wood and desperation. A coliseum for modern gladiators where pleas were swords and verdicts shields. Marcus stood at the defense table, suit hanging loose on his frame like a discarded skin. The ankle monitors beep a metronome to his unraveling. Justin sat front row, Brandon's hand a lifeline in his lap, Harlan and Elena flanking like sentinels. The DA painted Marcus as a viper in the nest, embezzlement tallied at 80 grand, fraud threads weaving to organized debt rings. Defense countered, addiction's grip, a cry for help masked as crime. Judge Alvarez, silver-haired and sharp as a switchblade, peered over bifocals. Plea deal, 2 years probation, restitution, community service. No jail if clean. Marcus sagged, relief crashing like waves on Rockaway. Harlan gripped the bench, knuckles cracking, while Elena dabbed tears with a monogrammed hanky. Outside, flashbulbs erupted, diner air dodges slammer. But Justin saw the fracture lines. Probation meant chains invisible, restitution a mountain scaled in nickels. Back at Hale's Haven, the crew threw an impromptu wake-not celebration. Platters of sliders, pitchers of sangria spiked gentle. Marcus arrived last. Collar popped in false bravado, but his toast cracked. To fuck-ups and fixers. "Love you, assholes." Hugs followed. Tentative then tight, Harlan's bear crush lingering longest. Justin pulled him aside, under the awning where rain pattered like hesitant applause. "This is your shot, Mark. No more shadows." Marcus nodded, eyes tracing the lot's potholes. "Yeah. And thanks for not letting me drown alone." It was absolution's whisper, enough to mend a seam. Business surged. Phoenix from ashes. Wait times hit an hour. Reservations via app Brandon coded on the fly. Justin's vision bloomed. Delivery partnerships with Uber Eats. Merch tees silk-screened in the back with "Hail Yeah" in rainbow script. Harlan grumbled but grinned, manning the grill with renewed fire, flipping patties like declarations of war on defeat. Elena handled PR, her socialite Rolodex landing a New York Post profile. From Family Feud to Feast, queer son revives Brooklyn icon, but undercurrents swirled. The Lone Sharks goon resurfaced voicemail gravel. Interests a bitch. 25 now. Or pretty boy's tires slashed. Justin played it for Brandon, who paced like a panther. "We go legal." Ruiz's card, press charges. But fear not. Exposure could tank the revival. Donors fleeing scandals stink. They met the shark in neutral turf. A deserted pier off Red Hook. Gulls wheeling like vultures over rusted shipping containers. Goon flanked by 2 meaty shadows. Justin and Brandon facing down in hoodies. Recorder app whirring silent in pocket. "Cash or crash?" Goon leered, gold tooth glinting. Justin held firm, voice steady as Brooklyn Bridge steel. "It's over. Cops have your number." Wiretaps from Marcus's mess. Bluff. But Goon's eyes narrowed, calculating. Brandon loomed silent sentinel, presence a threat wrapped in calm. A beat, then retreat. "Walk away, kids. Ain't worth the heat." They exhaled into the wind-whipped dusk, waves lapping like uneasy truce. Driving back, Brandon's hand found Justin's. Brave as hell, kiss at a stoplight, hungry and hasty, horns blaring chorus. Homefront healed slow. Family dinners sans daggers. Harlan attempting guy talk over steaks. Stilted queries on the wedding plans? That bloomed into stories of his own wild youth. A fling with a sailor in Nam docks hushed for decades. Love's love, he admitted. Beer bottle sweating in grip. Didn't know till now. Justin's chest unclenched. Forgiveness a tide pulling wreckage to shore. Brandon's proposal lingered like sweet smoke. Ring glinting on Justin's finger during shifts. Customers cooing. Harlan polishing glasses with extra vigor. Wedding whispers wove in. Rooftop affair at the diner. Drag queens as bridesmaids. Menu of comfort remixed queer. But Marcus's shadow loomed, probation check-ins draining him, restitution payments nibbling profits. One night, post-closing, he cornered Justin in the alley, cigarette trembling. Relapse itch. Bad. Justin hugged him fierce. Call me. Anytime. We're in the trenches together. Crisis crested unexpected. Fire alarm wail at 3 a.m. Sirens screaming into the lot. Flames licked the kitchen vents. Grease fire. Accelerant scent screaming arson. Firefighters battled. Hoses hissing. While Justin and Brandon watched from the curb. Soot-streaked and hollow. Harlan arrived in robe and slippers. Face carved from granite. Who? He roared to the captain. Investigation pending. But whispers. Disgruntled ex. Or shark's revenge. Insurance claim filed. But payout weeks away. Diner shuttered. Revenue flatline. GoFundMe relaunched. Rising from rubble. Hale's Haven needs you. Viral again. Queer solidarity surging. Donations from LA Pride orgs. Boston food collectives. Brandon's designs trended. Phoenix burgers. Rebirth teas selling out online. In the interim void, Justin and Brandon retreated to the apartment, cocooned in takeout and tangled limbs. Nights blurred. Slow dances to Coltrane on a Bluetooth speaker. Brandon's sketches of their future. Diner empire mapped in ink. Kids maybe. Adopted and loud. You saved me first, Justin confessed one dawn. Head on Brandon's chest. Heartbeat drum. From the laundromat lost boy, Brandon's laugh rumbled. Nah. You saved yourself. I just held the mirror. Arson probe cracked fast. CCTV grainy but damning. Goon's shadow slipping a rag in the vent. Ruiz hauled him in. Charges stacking like Jenga. Marcus testified. Voice steady. My mess. But family's off limits. Closure. Bitter as black coffee. Reopening gala hit like a heat wave. Block party vibe. Food trucks circling. Live band thumping salsa fusion. Harlan emceed. Mic shaky but soulful. To my boy Justin, Outcast no more. And Brandon, The Rock. Cheers erupted. Confetti raining like blessings. Marcus manned the grill. Spatula twirling tricks for kids. Redemption in every flip. But emotions tide turns swift. Post-party. Alone in the office. Justin cracked. Tears hot. Body shaking. What if it's never enough? The betrayals. The fires. Brandon knelt. Hands cupping face. It is. Look around, you built this. We built us. Their lovemaking was worship. Slow. Sacred. Bodies mapping maps of survival. Whispers of forever. Vows etched in sweat. Months montaged. Diner thriving. Expansions whispered second location in the Bronx. Marcus mentored at NA meetings. Clean streak shining. Elena's bun swelled. Baby Hale incoming. names debated over pie. Harlan softened, stories flowing like taps. Seamus's queer cousin, hushed family lore. Yet climax brewed in quiet. Wedding eve, rooftop under string lights, city pulse below. Justin in linen shirt, Brandon in guayabera, Harlan walking Justin down an aisle of crates. Vows exchanged, raw, in ruins and rises. I choose you. Rings slid, kiss sealed amid whoops. Marcus's grin widest, Elena's sob sweetest. Honeymoon, a week in the Catskills, cabin by a lake. No cell service, just fishing poles and fireflies. Brandon's proposal ring joined a band, simple gold. North forever, he toasted, Esmores melting. Return brought bloom. Diner chains budding, franchise dreams greenlit. But humaneness rooted deep, scholarships for queer youth in Seamus's name. NA corner at the counter stocked with pamphlets. One night, closing time hush, Justin leaned on the counter, Brandon wiping down booths. We did it, Justin breathed. Brandon crossed, pulling him into a sway. Yeah. Outcast to empire, kiss under neon, legacy humming approval. Sunrise gilded the Brooklyn skyline like fool's gold, but for Justin Hale-Reyes, it felt earned. Rays slanting through the diner's windows, catching dust motes in a ballet of quiet triumph. 2 years post-fire, Hale's Haven wasn't just surviving. It was a beacon, second outpost thriving in Harlem. Menu evolving with collards and cornbread nods to new neighbors. Justin managed from the original. Sleeves rolled. Tattoos. Matching compass roses with Brandon's. Peeking as he plated the daily special. Outcast omelet. Eggs folded over rainbow veggies. A wink to origins. Mornings started ritual. Brandon brewing cafecito strong as their bond. Harlan shuffling in for black drip and banter. The old man had mellowed into a grandfatherly fixture, spoiling Elena's toddler with illicit shakes, his once-iron grip now gentle on the till. Your mod be proud, he'd say, eyes crinkling at Justin, the words a balm on old wounds. Marcus, transformed alchemist, probation a distant scar, now running the merch line, teas and mugs shipped nationwide. His designs channeling street art grit with redemption's edge. Clean, coupled with a barista from the Bronx outpost, tall, tattooed, tolerant of his stories. Family Sundays anchored them. Sprawling tables at the diner. Elena's clan plus Brandon's abuela video calling from Jersey. Recipes swapped like secrets. Laughter echoed off tin ceilings, filling voids once choked with silence. But humanities we phrase easy, reminders stitched in, the occasional troll DM, Marcus's sponsor calls at midnight, Harlan's doctor's visits for the cough that lingered like regret. Justin's arc-crested personal. Book deal inked after the post piece went viral. Memoir pitched as Grease and Grace, a gay son's fight for family fire. Ghostwriter sessions in the office. Brandon interrupting with sketches for the cover. Diner sign ablaze not in ruin, but rebirth glow. Your story, Brandon said, flipping pages. Ours, too. Romance simmered steady, spiced by time. Anniversaries marked with rooftop picnics. City serenade below. One autumn eve. Leaves carpeting the lot like confetti. Brandon surprised with a road trip. Spontaneous. Civic packed with coolers and cassettes. Destination. Fire Island Pines. Queer haven where dunes whispered freedoms Justin once dreamed. They walked beaches hand in hold. Waves erasing footprints. Bodies bronzed by bonfires. Nights in a borrowed cottage. Skin to skin. Brandon's voice husky. Remember the laundromat? Thought you were a storm. Still are. My favorite kind. Back in the burrow. Challenges nipped. A supplier hike threatened margins. Gentrifiers eyeing the block for condos. Justin rallied, petitions circulated. Council meetings stormed with Harlan's old union bluster. Victory small. Rent cap extended. Diner safe another lease. But the real tempest brewed internal. Elena's call. Voice quaver. Dad's scan. Spots on the lungs. Stage 2. The word cancer landed like an uninvited guest. Settling heavy. Harlan waved it off over pie. Irish stubborn. Doc say. But chemo loomed. Hats knitted by Abuela Reyes. Family circled wagons. Marcus driving appointments. Elena organizing meals. Justin holding vigil in sterile waits. Brandon's hand his rosary. He's a fighter, Brandon murmured during one endless afternoon. Fluorescence buzzing judgment. Like you. Harlan's decline was a slow unravel. Appetite fled. Frame shrinking to Seamus's ghost. Diner runs shortened. But he insisted on the stool. Regaling regulars with tales. Voice rasping but rich. One quiet shift. As Justin poured his ritual coke. Harlan beckoned close. Proud, son. Of the man, the husband, you became. Pause. Breath labored. Forgive the old bastard? Justin's throat closed. Gnawed fierce. Already did. Love you, Dad. The end came gentle. Hospice bed in the brownstone. Family vigil like a quilt of flesh and memory. Harlan slipped at dawn. Hand in Justin's. Last words a murmur. Keep the flame. Funeral packed the chapel. Dockworkers in ill-fitting suits. Drag queens in full glam. Politicians nodding to cameras. Eulogy fell to Justin. Voice steady over the lectern. He taught grit, but love, that we learned together from ashes, from each other. Grief hollowed, but purpose filled cracks. Harlan's will ceded full control to Justin. Trust stipulating no chains. Let it grow wild. Expansions accelerated. Third spot in Queens. Food bank tie-ins feeding the forgotten. Marcus stepped up as COO. His edge honed helpful. In sorrow's wake. Joy seated. Brandon's whisper one spring morning. Testing strip pink. We're parents. IVF roulette paid off, surrogate from their circle. A boy due in winter. Names debated. Seamus Reyes Hale. Nod to roots and rainbows. Nursery painted in the walk-up. Walls alive with murals. Diner scenes. Compass stars. Betrayal's ghost. Exorcised in therapy circles. Marcus's shares in amends meetings. Elena's letters to her daughter on brothers who bend but don't break. Justin's book launched bestseller. Tours crisscrossing coasts. Brandon stage managing with flair. Readings drew crowds. Queer kids clutching copies. Eyes wide with Me Too. Climax crested symbolic. Diner anniversary gala. 5 years post-revival. Block transformed into carnival. Fire breathers. Irony noted. Bands blending Springsteen with Bad Bunny. Justin emceed. Mike hot. From Outcast slap to this, proof love saves. Not just hearts, but homes. Brandon joined. Arms slung casual. Ring catching lights. Marcus toasted next. To fuck-ups who fly. Laughter rippled. Harlan's empty stool draped in his apron. A throne eternal. Afterglow lingered in after-party hush. Rooftop under harvest moon. Justin and Brandon swayed slow to phantom jazz. City hummed their heartbeat. "Think Dad's watching?" Justin asked, head on shoulder. Brandon's chuckle vibrated. "Grinning like a fool. 'Bout time we Hales got it right." Kisses deepened, hands wandering familiar paths, promise in every touch. Life's drama, dramatic, emotional, romantic, unfolded human, messy, mended, magnificent. No tidy bows, but threads strong, woven queer and unyielding. Epilogue whispered in nursery rockings, Seamus's tiny fist clutching Justin's finger, Brandon humming lullabies in Spanglish. Hale's haven thrived, beacon for the castaways, proving outcasts don't ruin, they rebuild, bolder, brighter. In the end, the family that fractured forged unbreakable. Love's true empire, served hot, with heart.